You know, when you actually think about it, Ichigo doesn't have anything to explain to us, but from an outsider looking in, he might. You have the Quincy King who's out here, absorbing gods, destroying the sky, making his paradise as he destroys everything around him, and Ichigo's casually building a harem. Now, granted, like I said, outsider looking in, for us we know it's not like he's going out of his way to do so, but he's really having a much better time as it stands than everyone else. Now, granted, has he been getting skewered before that? Sure. But I mean, could you imagine just having like a little GoPro floating around, they tuning in as they're trying to build this gate? Goddamn, look at these eyes. It looks like the rats from Plague Tale, and they just see Ichigo getting motorboated by Nell in adult form. He wouldn't recover from those allegations, man. The proof would be in the pudding. But this arc is doing something very special. And just the more I see of it, the more I realize we just don't get shonens like this really anymore. And the only time we really see it is when some of the big dogs come back, like a Dragon Ball or a One Piece, because there's a formula that they're rolling with right now that I wish we could see more of, but really it feels more like a product of its time. And it's sad to say, once the 1,000-Year Blood War officially comes to an end for the last time, I don't know when we'll see the next time a final arc look and feel exactly like this, because this shit's awesome. Of course, I have full live reactions over on Patreon if you want to see about full good thoughts and this Bleach greatness over there exclusively. So, what I mean about how they're doing this, you can look at the stuff like Grimjaw and everyone, right? That characters coming back for the final arc isn't something that's always like, oh, only the old school battle shonens did. But it is something that when you think of it, right, like I have to imagine if Oda decides to do something in One Piece where, you know, towards the actual very end, you know, having a lot of characters come together, whether allies or people used to fight because of a common threat, you know, enemy of my enemy is my friend. To have it to such a large degree, you don't really see it anymore, and I think a show like Bleach or a manga like Bleach is one of those rare cases that, you know, back in the day, this is something you'd see a lot of, but not so much anymore. It's usually a pretty concentrated group of people you've already worked with, and if it is going to be someone like a Grimjaw that maybe wants to cut your head off, you know, you get one of those characters who decides to kind of switch over. But with Bleach, you just get all these characters coming back together, and it's why it's just like, I kind of miss that old school feel. And the thing about it too is it's not even nostalgia for me, because like I didn't really grow up on a lot of these shows. So for me, all this stuff I kind of have consumed over the past like 10 years, right? It all kind of, whether it's 80s, 90s, 2000s, 2010s, 2020s, right? It's all pretty much in the same era for me. But I do like that old school feel. It's probably why I'm really enjoying the new Dragon Ball, because it really is like an old school adventure battle shonen. But in terms of what they did with this episode, it's a setup episode, right? Like, it really is. It's about bringing the characters together, seeing what they're doing, and really about to bring the fight to the Quincy King. And the man's large and in charge right now. He's got more eyes than we can count. Every other frame, he sometimes has 5 eyes, sometimes he has 8. He doesn't even know how many eyes he needs, so getting glasses for the bastard is going to be a difficult thing. But who needs eyes, I suppose, when you're destroying the world? He definitely has some style, though, because, like, his new Ganon-looking castle that he's built for himself, I think it looks badass. And honestly, I don't know if they're going to keep this color palette, but the kind of purple tinge that's in the background, I really hope they do keep it, because up to this point, we've mainly been fighting in a blue sky, which I'm not saying it doesn't work, but I think it will look a lot more visually engaging when characters are glowing blue and red and shooting yellow or goldish arrows at people. It will look a lot more interesting with this backdrop than it did when they were just in the general sky. So I think we are about to see some visually interesting stuff. But at the end of the day, this was about bringing the characters together, catching up, you know, the idea and just how they introduce such subtle but really fun humor that doesn't need to be there. But, you know, you look at Orihime and just the idea that when Nell pops up and basically motorboats our boy and just our girl has to stand there and be like, what in the actual... I mean, she really doesn't have a lot to be envious of, given that she barely is clothed to begin with because of what's going on in the chesticle region. But the idea that our boy had to be like, hey, I promise you it wasn't malicious. There's always good intentions behind this shit. It's like, it's kind of nice to catch your breath. I mean, our boy, like, less than a few episodes ago, got shot down by someone who we thought was our friend. I'm still holding on to the hope he did that to make it look like he's on their side and he's secretly waiting for a moment to shoot this bastard in the head. Maybe that's copium, but hell, you need a little hopium in this world. But just in general, it was fun. I like seeing Grimjaw, I like seeing everyone, and honestly, I just like seeing them all collectively group up to go on what feels like a suicide mission. I'm a big fan of whether it's a video game, whether it's a book, a movie, an anime, whatever it is, you have that, like, the group's together. The army has been banded together, and now we're chasing after the final hurrah, but we know we might not come out of this alive. Them forming the gate, and our boy just having that big dick energy, it kind of felt like he knew he's probably not coming back from this one alive, but he knows he has to chase through that gate. That's the vibe I got from this episode, while being just fun and silly all at the same time, because there's a time and a place. I don't want Ichigo to get slapped and motorboated in the middle of fighting the Quincy King. I think that's a little too much. That would feel too much in line with like a fairy tale, right? Like distracting from the main course. But battle shonens can be silly if it's like an in-between where like they're not currently fighting for the death. Is there really an issue with having a little kind of sexual fan servicey humor? I don't think so. Bleach is definitely a product of the time, and it's interesting to think what the anime would have looked like had it been adapted the same time as everything else. Most likely you could assume it wouldn't have been fleshed out because of course they wouldn't have been working with Kubo and, you know, making the vision come to life in the way that he wanted. There would have been a lot more still frames, that's for damn sure. There wouldn't be all these subtle movements or Sakuga moments that we've had up to this point. But most importantly, I think this arc never would have lived up to the potential. Now, I'm not saying, because I feel like when I do go read this arc in the manga, because this is the only arc I never read in the manga, I'm probably still going to like it. And I probably, if I just put myself in the perspective of if this was all I had, would I have hated it? I'm willing to bet no. But given the amount of people who are saying how much is new or episodes are basically new, it's very clear that you don't think it at first, but this never getting an arc until now and feeling like Bleach was always going to have an incomplete ending is the best thing that could have happened for it, because you can tell that when editorial departments and people aren't going down a mangaka's throat and he actually has time to cook and flesh things out in the way that he wants to, you get a much better package, and most importantly, you get a studio that can adapt it in 4 cores over the course of a couple of years, rather than that weekly filler BS that you know, have to find a watch order in, which, seriously, like, some of these shows, whether it's a Bleach, a Naruto, a One Piece for back in the day, the amount of content you can actually skip and not lose out on is insane. So I'm just happy we are getting what is, to me, the best arc of Bleach in the best produced form. And while it's definitely sus that Ichigo is technically being harem king as everyone else is fighting for their life, screw it, boy. You may not make it out alive, so enjoy the titties while you can. Let me know your thoughts and feelings though down below. Be sure to leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're around here, of course, ring that bell. Like I mentioned, we got those full live reactions over on Patreon, and hey, while you're over there, I'll also give you a video shout out. So today we got Chris, Topcell, Akane, C, Yige Akabiz, Dennis Jansen, Colton Nutter, and we also have James Reinhardt. So I appreciate the support, everyone. Please take care, and y'all have a good one.